Hello IELTS learners, welcome back to the Vocab Booster series. Today we're focusing on the words and expressions from our rain episode. Let's begin with some vivid action phrases, words that describe what rain does or what we do in the rain. One of the most fun is splashing in puddles. This means jumping or stepping into puddles just for fun, something children often enjoy. For example, kids were splashing in puddles all afternoon after the storm. Or you could say, when I was a child, I loved splashing in puddles. It made rainy days feel exciting. Another common one is pour or pouring. If it's pouring, it's raining extremely heavily. For instance, it was pouring so hard that I couldn't even see across the street. Or, if it's pouring during my commute, everything slows down and it takes forever to get to work. Then there's get drenched, which means getting completely saturated with water, usually because of heavy rain. You might say, I forgot my umbrella and got drenched walking home. Or, sometimes I get drenched on my way to school, especially when the rain starts suddenly. A similar common phrase is get soaked. It also means getting completely wet or saturated by the rain. For example, I ran through the drizzle and got soaked by the time I reached the station. Or, I don't mind getting a little soaked if the rain isn't too cold. Each of these verbs helps you describe rain in a clear visual way, just what you want in IELTS speaking. They bring your answers to life and make them feel more natural. Now let's look at some adjectives and mood vocabulary that describe how rain makes us feel and the moods it can create. First is irritated. You use this when something bothers you or puts you in a bad mood. For example, I get irritated when my shoes stay wet all day. Or, I feel irritated when rain interrupts my plans. Drizzly is an adjective describing light, misty rain that falls continuously. The verb is to drizzle, and the rain itself is often referred to as drizzle. You might say, the morning was cold and drizzly, or it began to drizzle right after we left the house. Sluggish describes feeling slow, tired, or lacking energy. You could say, after the drizzly morning I felt sluggish and didn't want to go out. Or, light rain makes me feel sluggish, which sometimes affects my productivity. Then we have annoying. This is perfect for describing something frustrating or unpleasant like persistent light rain. For instance, that drizzly rain is so annoying. Or, when it drizzles all day, it becomes really annoying. Tolerable is an adjective for something unpleasant but manageable. You might say, the drizzle was tolerable, so I walked without an umbrella. Or, light rain is tolerable for me. It doesn't really affect my routine. Next is soothing, which describes something calming or relaxing. For example, the sound of rain on the roof is soothing. Or, heavy rain is quite soothing. It helps me unwind after a stressful day. Atmospheric is great when rain creates a mood, making a place feel dramatic or cozy. You could say, the rain made the cafe feel atmospheric. Or, when it rains heavily, the weather feels atmospheric, almost cinematic. Damp describes being slightly wet in an unpleasant way. For instance, my clothes stayed damp for hours after walking in the drizzle. Or, I don't like damp weather. It feels uncomfortable and sticky. Bulky describes something large, heavy, or awkward to carry. For example, I never wear bulky raincoats. They feel uncomfortable. Or, I prefer lightweight jackets because bulky rain gear is inconvenient. Finally, grumpy is slightly unhappy or in a bad mood. You could say, rainy Mondays make people grumpy on the bus. Or, I don't usually get grumpy when it rains, but many people do. All of these words help you express moods, feelings, and reactions to rain in a natural, descriptive way. Perfect for IELTS speaking. Now that we've explored moods and adjectives, let's look at some practical vocabulary. Words and phrases you can use when talking about preparing for rain or dealing with it. First up is hassle. This describes something annoying or inconvenient. For example, carrying an umbrella everywhere can be a hassle. Or, dealing with rain gear feels like a hassle when you just want to stay dry. Then we have rain gear. These are the items you use to protect yourself from rain, like umbrellas, jackets, or waterproof boots. You could say, I always keep rain gear in my backpack. Or, when it rains a lot, people rely on rain gear to stay comfortable. A useful phrase is, carry on with my day. This means continuing your normal activities despite the rain. For instance, if it starts raining lightly, I just carry on with my day. Or, even when it rains unexpectedly, I carry on with my day and try not to let it bother me. Another important phrase is, take it in stride. This means accepting something calmly without letting it stress you out. For example, when unexpected rain hits, I take it in stride. Or, even if rain ruins my plans, I take it in stride and find something else to do. Finally, we have a more expressive phrase, put on a show. You can use this when something dramatic happens, like a storm or heavy rain that feels impressive. For example, the lightning storm really put on a show last night. Or, heavy rain can feel like nature is putting on a show. Powerful and dramatic. Using these words and phrases will help you talk about rain in a practical, realistic way. They make your answers sound fluent and natural, showing that you can describe both what happens and how you respond to it. Alright, it's time to see how much of this vocabulary you remember. I'll give you 17 questions. Try to answer them in your head before I reveal the answer. Don't worry if you get some wrong. It's all about practice. Here is question 1. It's not just raining, the water is coming down extremely hard. It is absolutely. Think of a word that means it's raining extremely heavily. The correct answer is pouring. Remember, pouring means raining extremely heavily. If you got that right, excellent. Let's move on to question 2. The children were laughing and enjoying themselves while in puddles. What verb describes stepping into puddles for fun? The correct answer is splashing. They were splashing in puddles. Let's move to question 3. I forgot my waterproof coat and got completely walking from the bus stop. What word means getting completely saturated with water? The correct answer is drenched or soaked. If you got drenched or soaked, you are absolutely right. Moving on to question 4. It didn't rain heavily, it just started to as we left the house. What verb describes light, misty, continuous rain? The correct answer is drizzle. It started to drizzle. Here is question 5. After sitting indoors during a long rainy afternoon, I felt and unmotivated. What adjective means feeling slow, tired, or lacking energy? The correct answer is sluggish. I felt sluggish. The rain was very light and misty. It was a cold and morning. What adjective describes weather with light, continuous rain? The correct answer is drizzly. It was a cold and drizzly morning. My clothes felt slightly wet and cold for hours after my walk. They were still. What adjective describes being slightly wet in an unpleasant way? The correct answer is damp. My clothes were damp. While the heavy storm was inconvenient, the rain on the roof was actually quite. And helped me relax. What word means calming or relaxing? The correct answer is soothing. The rain was soothing. On to question 9. The light rain was annoying, but I kept walking because it was still and manageable. What adjective means unpleasant but manageable? The correct answer is tolerable. The rain was tolerable. I was getting, because the persistent light rain kept interrupting our outdoor filming. What adjective means bothered or in a bad mood? The correct answer is irritated or annoyed. If you said irritated or annoyed, you got it. question 11. I hate carrying this large, heavy umbrella. It is so... What adjective describes something large, heavy, or awkward to carry? The correct answer is bulky. It is so bulky. Let's try question 12. The intense rain made the old library feel dramatic and mysterious. It was a very setting. What adjective is used when rain creates a mood, making a place feel dramatic or cinematic? The correct answer is atmospheric. It was a very atmospheric setting. Even if the rain starts, I don't let it stress me. I just continue my plans. What phrasal verb means accepting something calmly without letting it stress you out? The correct answer is take it in stride. I take it in stride. I don't have much room in my bag, so carrying an extra coat and umbrella feels like a real... What noun describes something annoying or inconvenient? The correct answer is hassle. It feels like a hassle. If it starts raining lightly, I don't stop. I just try not to let it bother me. What phrase means continuing your normal activities despite the rain? The correct answer is carry on with my day. I carry on with my day. When the thunderstorm hit, the lightning and thunder were so loud it felt like nature was really. What phrase is used for dramatic or impressive events? The correct answer is putting on a show. Nature was putting on a show. And the final question, number 17. My backpack always contains all my essential items for wet weather, including my jacket and boots, which I call my... What is the general term for items used to protect yourself from rain? The correct answer is rain gear. I always keep my rain gear with me. And that's your full rain vocab booster. By practicing these words and phrases, from actions like splashing in puddles, adjectives like sluggish or grumpy, to practical expressions like take it in stride, you can make even a simple topic like rain sound vivid and natural. Keep practicing. Try using these phrases in your own answers, and you'll notice your IELTS speaking becomes more fluent, expressive, and confident. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.